Hey guys, Mr. Biz here. Hey, I just got done with meeting a really cool guy, new potential client. Awesome stuff here. But we're meeting at the New Albany, Ohio, here at the New Albany Country Club. Really cool place here. Um, so today I want to talk to you about something as far as expenses. Right, expenses are important, and a lot of people think, oh, geez, I got to manage my expenses. Of course you do. But what's one of the most important things you can do? And one of those things that is very obvious, but sometimes gets lost in the shuffle, and that is the element of making as much of your expenses variable versus fixed as you can. So let me explain that a little bit, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. And again, if you want me to help you run your business and make it more profitable, more efficient, check out MrBizProgram.com. You can see the details there. So let's talk about this. So fixed expenses are things that, as you would imagine, that don't change, right? Things like, generally speaking, your rent, right? If you pay rent, your mortgage payment, maybe your car payment, maybe you have a fleet of vehicles and you have debt on those, that debt doesn't change. A lot of different things in that regard are fixed. Variable expenses, as you would guess, are things that change, hopefully, and go up and down as your business changes. So if you do more business, more volume, those expenses go up. A lot of kind of a semi-variable. It's definitely a variable expense, but not necessarily tied to your business potentially, unless you have maybe manufacturing or things like your utilities. Those more so are going to fluctuate, of course, with the weather. So they are technically variable, but not necessarily tied to your business. Again, unless you have manufacturing and you have more electricity to produce your widgets, you'd have more of that. But the key here is to have as large a percentage of your expenses variable versus fixed as you can, because that way your expenses will flow as your business flows. So the more volume you do, the higher expenses. Well, that's fine because you'll have the revenue to support those additional expenses. When you have fixed and your volumes go down, right, maybe in your slow season, you have a lot of expense to carry potentially if you have a lot of fixed expenses. So again, things like your mortgage and things like that. So trying to variabilize it as much. Now, one of the key elements to that is Mr. Sun's going to grace us with his presence today. Good stuff. It was pretty cloudy and raining earlier. Is our employees. And this is one of those things that some of you guys might be get this when I say this. Maybe this will hit a little too close to home. Hopefully it does, so it'll wake you up to this a little bit. Is in regards to employees, a lot of people, it's an ego thing. They want to be able to say, I have X amount of employees. And taking on an employee who is an actual employee of your company and not a contractor, that's fixed expense, right? You're going to pay those people regardless of, let's say, they're working 40 hours a week or maybe even with overtime, but in this case, 40 hours a week, and they're making, I don't know, 20 bucks an hour, right? So you've got $800 a week of expense. Whether you have one job to do or you have 50 jobs to do, you're going to have to pay them $800. You might have 0 jobs to do. So as much as you possibly can, try to keep it to where you can variabilize your employee expenses, because again, that's one of those things in most businesses, again, depending on your business, but in most businesses, your employee expense is your biggest expense. So as much as you can variabilize that as opposed to making it fixed, meaning as much as you can have subcontractors or regular contractors and not employees, the better. You avoid paying benefits and things like that. And not that you're trying to, do anything shady and not pay benefits for people, right? You want people to have benefits, but you want to have variable expenses with your business. Now, I understand the lawn care crew here. Hopefully you can still hear me kicking up some mowers in the background here. So you want to make sure as best you can you have contractors. Now, your business might not allow that, but consider options and be creative on how you can do that, especially when you think you need to hire a new employee. Think of ways to make it variable. For example, I've talked about this before. Let's say you think you need some administrative help. Don't just go out and hire someone, a full-time employee. Hire a virtual assistant, for example. And again, you guys have heard me talk about that before. That way you only pay for what you use. It's variable, right? The more administrative work you have them do, the more you would pay. If you don't have any administrative work, you don't pay anything. So that's another example of how to make sure your mix is more variable versus fixed. Because again, if the economy takes a downturn or it's your slow season, you don't want to have to carry those fixed expenses, or you want to have as minimal, a small amount of possible of fixed expenses to carry through that slow season or that economic downturn, whatever it might be. That will help your cash flow significantly. Obviously, it will help your net income because your expenses will flow directly in correlation with your revenue and your sales. So really, really important. Think of creative ways though. Again, a lot of people say, well, no doubt, Mr. Biz, I get it, I need to do that, but how do I do that in my business? Again, think outside the box. Don't just think about the typical things of saying, oh, well, geez, I can't make that more variable. You probably can. There are probably some ways. In almost every business I've ever worked with, there have been ways that we've been able to do that. So you got to consider that. Very important. That's it for today, guys. Again, if you want me to help you make your business more profitable, more efficient, talk about topics like this, go out to MrBizProgram.com and check that out. I think that's it for today. We will be back at it again tomorrow, and we'll see you guys then.